Okay, and we are back. Welcome to the SoapBox, where people who work, volunteer, and care about recovery tell us who they are and what they are most passionate about. My name is Rich Jones, RN, and I represent restorativelifemanagement.com and the home website secondstarts.com. That's number 2NDSTARTS.com. Today, my guest is Sam Peterson. Sam is a former U.S. Army Explosive Ordnance Disposal technician who turned his own recovery into a mission to modernize mental health. And he's also the CEO of Mind Spa out of Denver, Colorado. Sam, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Rich.
It was great. Sam, I start off every show the same way. I'm going to do the same with you. I want you to give me that Cliff Notes version of who Sam is, where he got to, and please don't leave out the good part about the bomb ordnance stuff, because that's what we want to hear.
Yeah. Well, I got into the mental health space because I got tired of watching, my friends die by suicide. That EOD is one of the most fun and engaging jobs you can ever have in the military. Learning to defuse bombs, to kind of take on this CSI role and take apart IEDs and then catch the bad guys. It's one of the most exciting things you can ever do. It's also one of the most high consequence jobs you can ever have. And I loved it to death, but learned later in my career why the suicide rate is so high. And that is because we're constantly exposed to numerous blast waves, sometimes every single day. So we're just constantly getting hit over and over and over and over and over again by these blast waves. And, it turns out that causes a ton of damage to the brain, especially over time. So, I've really devoted my career after leaving that job to addressing that problem, to healing and rewiring the brain of veterans who are struggling with TBI and PTSD.
Okay. So what led you down the road to even want to be a helper of any sort? I understand you had the consequences of the job, but what led you down the road to want to be a helper?
Yeah, the thing that led me down the road to innovating in this space kind of happened by accident. Like I was having panic attacks every single day, and it went on for months and months and months. And I was finally done with it. I was about ready to take my own life and had my 45 in my mouth, ready to pull the trigger. And the only reason I didn't is because my phone went off my pocket. And one of my really good friends invited me over to his place. He lived right down the street from me, and invited me to try MDMA for the first time. And it changed my life. It was like someone took my soul out of my body, like washed it in bleach and stuck it back in.
Wow.
And that experience completely shattered what I thought about, what it is to feel joy, what the role of drugs in our society is, because I'd never tried any before that point. And it really just opened my eyes. And I didn't really understand the impact of that moment, of that experience, until about 5 months later. I was talking to one of my mentors in the motor pool. Neil was an E8, just about ready to retire, one of the most well-respected EOD techs in the whole battalion. And we're having just a normal conversation you would have on a Friday before a long weekend, smoking and joking, talking about what we were going to do, what we were going to grill out. He's talking about his kids, about his future. You never would have known he was struggling. 2 days later, he walked out into his backyard and blew his head off with his 3-year-old in the house. And that experience just made me angry. It made me angry at this entire mental health establishment that we have that leans on polypharmacy as its opening salvo for treating complex mental health conditions when there's very little efficacy for doing so. A system that punishes people that ask for help. And when I say that, what I mean is like inpatient mental health. if I have a suicidal crisis, our first thing to do is almost criminalize that. We take you into a hospital, take all of your stuff away, take away your shoelaces, and basically put you in mental health jail for 72 hours at least, or until you can convince the clinical psychologist and the psychiatrist on staff that you're not really a danger to yourself. Like, okay, fine. I'm not going to kill myself if you please just let me out of crazy jail. That's how we treat someone in a suicidal crisis. So that experience, that set of experiences just got me really good and pissed off about what it means to treat mental health, and dedicated myself after that experience to fixing it. Because at the end of the day, current mental health treatment protocol, the classical use antidepressants and talk therapy together, just does not address the underlying neurobiology of these conditions at all. You can't talk your way out of a TBI. Sorry.
Right. Sam, when you were in an environment, was there any what was the nature of your contact with the mental health that they offered or didn't offer in your situations? I mean, I would think that, I've been around the military. I was in the military, so when I say common sense, I use that sparingly. But
it's like saying military grade.
Yeah, but what did they have? Did they ever address that? Knowing the high intensity situation that you were in, did they ever address that in any way?
I mean, I went to mental health. I self-refer to behavioral health. One of the reasons that I lost faith in this system was because after my second deployment, I got Dear John'd over there. So for those of you who don't know, that's when your significant other sends you a letter and your services are no longer required. My ex-fiance ran off with an insurance salesman while I was deployed. So I self-referred to behavioral health. I knew I needed help. And the first thing they did was they slid 3 different bottles across the table, a mood stabilizer, an SSRI, and an antipsychotic. I started taking them. They turned my whole world gray. It just numbed everything. It was like putting lidocaine on your brain. And it just didn't do anything to make the problem better. So I tried that approach, and even more so kind of on the stigma that comes with mental health. So not only am I now on these medications that are supposed to stabilize me, the psychiatrist flagged me in one of the Fort Carson base systems, and I went to go do my bomb technician thing and go handle a grenade that was out in Grand Junction that the police had found. I was on call. And when I went to go draw explosives from the ammo supply point, I couldn't get in. My name was on the do not enter list because I self-referred to behavioral health. And I was like, wow, this is how we treat people who are struggling. We take away their purpose, we stick them in a box, and we medicate them so they're not a problem anymore. How the hell is that supposed to help anyone?
Yeah, very good. I noticed that you said that they did that to you. They didn't bother doing that to you before they put you on call, I noticed, but they put you on call first.
Didn't tell me either. Didn't tell me either.
Right. Very good. Okay. My guest, Sam Peterson, Mind Spy in Denver. You see that up on the screen, and hopefully when we get done, some of you who need some of his services or will not be shy about getting in touch with them and talking to them. I've looked over their site, and it's impressive. I got to tell you, as an ex-service guy, it's impressive. I think we can expand that mindset. That would be great. Before we move on, I just want to tell everybody, restorative life management If we are helping frontline recovery practitioners and their client families with a non-clinical program that cuts through the friction of real-life events and the detrimental effects of an unfocused support network. Let's move on. Sam, I want to talk to you about some of the things that me and you discussed earlier, and I call them the soapbox points. I'm not afraid to give everybody the back door, but we want to talk about some of the things that highlight your mindset and your mission and what you guys are doing over there. So the first thing is, talk to me about your differences between traditional medicine and what you think are the root causes of some of these mental health issues.
So traditional, I've already kind of beat the traditional medicine approach to death, polypharmacy, doing an M1 hold, doing talk therapy. Here's the thing. Here's why that approach is wanting. We'll just say that.
Okay.
When someone is dealing with chronic depression, anxiety, PTSD, or traumatic brain injury, those four things have two commonalities. One, they are highly, highly inflammatory to the brain. They cause a lot of inflammation in the brain. And two, they affect neural connectivity. So they affect your brain's ability to talk to itself and to regulate itself. So here, I'm going to get a little bit into the neuroscience here, hopefully in an approachable way. Your fight, flight, or freeze, your amygdala, it's at the base of your brain. The base of your brain has these giant arteries going straight to it. The only way to cut off the supply of blood to that part of the brain is to literally choke you. Conversely, the prefrontal cortex, the newest part of the brain from an evolutionary perspective, the part that allows us to reason, do long-term planning, the part of the brain that allows us to be on this podcast right now. Those blood vessels that are responsible for supplying energy to that part of the brain are very, very small. So it doesn't take a whole lot of inflammation before your blood is not able to get to the tissue. So that causes a couple of problems. The biggest one is that your cells are no longer able to create energy the way that they normally would. It's a process called cellular respiration. Okay. Since they can't get blood flow, they have to switch over to a secondary method of energy creation called anaerobic glycolysis. I know these are a lot of medical terms, but stick with me here.
Okay.
So we can't get blood flow. We switch over to the secondary method of energy creation. Now, this anaerobic glycolysis is how cancer cells make energy. It's incredibly waste producing, and it's not as effective as our preferred method of energy creation, which is called cellular respiration. So now we've got a scenario where the part of our brain that is in charge of executive function, long-term planning, and down-regulating our emotional responses is now working at a much reduced capacity. Okay. So, and that system kind of feeds on itself because it's still not able to get blood flow. It's still highly, highly inflamed. So over time, you can see here pretty quickly how someone might be in a position where their brain's not able to downregulate itself at all. This is the case when someone's having, serious panic attacks, or they're having, episodes related to depression that they can't get out of. And that process that I just described, nothing in our current treatment model touches that process at all. Okay. That's where we come in. That's where we really change the game as far as treating these things effectively. So what we do is we use a treatment protocol that directly attacks that system, that inflammatory process that's going on in the brain. So first, we downregulate that inflammation. Then we give the brain all of the resources that it needs to heal. So we give it all these resources, and then we tell your brain exactly where we want it to reinforce. Because you could almost think about like these parts of the brain that have been underactive as atrophying, kind of like a muscle. So we need to take your brain to the gym. And so we do that using a couple different technologies simultaneously so we can create a synergistic effect.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. The inflammation of the brain. Okay. All right. And that again, go take me back here with the inflammation of the brain. Uh Different types of trauma cause that? One type of trauma?
Oh no, it's you. Inflammation of the brain is fairly ubiquitous. It can happen in multiple different ways. It could
Okay.
be, something in your diet, eating too much
Okay.
like processed foods, because the gut sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the gut. Um, it could be, a blow to the head. It could be explosive blast waves. It could be, long-term depression, or you're having trouble in your marriage. It's causing depression. That leads to inflammation.
Okay, that's why I thought I was following you there. So inflammation is caused by traumas or overworking or stresses to the brain, and that brings
Yep.
on. Oh, okay, and how does that directly concur with people with a traumatic brain injury? You know?
So with TBI, we take it even a step further. So it's not just about that inflammation, the inflammation and the loss of blood flow. We also have to contend with your brain's immune system. So
Okay.
your brain's immune system, your glial cells have three functions. Think of it like three different modes. So in their first mode, they kind of sit in a sentinel role. They're just watching what's going on around them, making sure there's no foreign contaminants getting into the brain. They also shepherd neuronal function, so they help your neurons work better. When they see a foreign contaminant, or like with a TBI, like your neurons actually get cut up, they get
Okay.
destroyed. So a neuron gets destroyed. Now there's these little pieces of cell floating around. Your brain's immune system looks at that and it goes, "Oh, that's a foreign contaminant."
Okay.
So what do I do? Like I'm a glial cell. I switch over into my second role. It's called microglial priming. So they change their shape and they start shooting chemicals at these pieces of cell, thinking they're foreign contaminants, trying to kill them. So these chemicals, they're called reactive oxygen species. Think like hydrogen peroxide. So it's shooting chemicals at this thing to kill it. And now, if that glial cell has enough energy, it's able to switch into its third mode. It takes on a phagocytic role. So it goes up and it absorbs, it eats and digests the foreign contaminant. Now, if it's been able to do its job, if it's had enough energy, it's cleaned up the mess, it goes back into its first mode. It's chilling on the couch, just watching things happen. But if it doesn't have enough energy, because of inflammation and a loss of blood flow, it gets stuck in kill mode. So
Okay.
it gets stuck in kill mode and is spewing basically poison into the space between your cells. And your neurons do not like that. Your neurons see that toxic environment and they recoil from it. They retract. It's a process called dendritic pruning. And those neurons retract and they eventually die because they're being poisoned. To kind of bring this home, imagine if I had two pots that I'm going to take one of my house plants, I'm going to transplant it into the second pot. So in the first pot, it's healthy, it's got sunshine, it's got water, it's got all the things that a plant needs. He's happy. Now I'm going to take this plant and transfer it over into my second pot. But in the second pot, I took a little bit of 10W30 motor oil and stuck it in there first and mixed it around with the soil. How well is the second plant going to fare? That's what's going on in your brain. So it's really important that we treat these things, that we get to them as quickly as we can, because this system is designed in a way that perpetuates this cycle. So it gets worse over time.
Okay. All right, that makes a lot of sense, and I can appreciate that, even if I was coming from the aspect of someone who didn't barely understood what you said. Most of the time, I find that people who need your help, a lot of times they're in what I like in my mind. I call it a ghost protocol. They know something's wrong, but they have no idea. And when they could just hear somebody give them a physical explanation, it
Yeah.
gives them more hope than just being something out in the wind, something that they can't they can't grasp at all. So again, I can appreciate that. And that's
Rich, one of the things that I run into all the time that really just reinforces my anger towards the system is people will come in with a traumatic brain injury. You can kind of see they're starting to degrade, and not a single physician has explained what I just explained to you. No one said, hey, this is what's going on in your brain. Here's this inflammatory process that's like slowly killing you.
Yeah.
Here, you need to do something about this now, or you are anywhere between 2 to 4.5 times more likely to get dementia.
Very good. Again, restorativelifemanagement.com. So if you are a frontline recovery practitioner, okay, to help your client families out with a non-clinical program that cuts through the friction of real life events and the detrimental effects of an unfocused support network, restorativelifemanagement.com. Sam, I want to get to the projects and what you do.
Yeah.
Take me really quick into Mind Spa Denver, and then wheel me around to some of your programs. And we talked about this. I'm specifically interested in what you're doing for the veterans. I noticed going over your site, you've got a lot of veteran representation in your staff. So I know you guys are focused on, working on that program along with some other people, but I know you folks. So take me through that.
Yeah, so we have a 3,500 square foot facility on the south side of Denver in the tech center where we treat depression, anxiety, PTSD, and TBI in veterans and first responders. We also take commercial insurance. So what we do here is using a combination of, and I'm going to throw some medical terms at you, ketamine infusion therapy. So ketamine does a couple really important things. One, it downregulates inflammation in the brain. Two, it's basically control alt delete for your brain. Like, when your computer's screwing up, the first thing we do is restart it. This is a reset for your brain. It also increases brain-derived neurotropic factor, so it helps your neurons branch out and create new connections. So, taking inflammation down, helping your brain create new connections really primes the pump for someone who's been suffering. Ketamine on its own, efficacy rates are around 60 to 70% in clinical trials. So 60 to 70% of patients suffering from major depression or anxiety had at least a 50% reduction in their symptoms. So a lot of studies on it. Very, very safe medication. And it's also rather psychedelic. So, people go on a journey when they come see us.
Okay.
The second piece that we use a lot is hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So hyperbaric, for anyone who doesn't know, you get into a chamber. We have large metal chambers that go down to 2 atmospheres, or the equivalent to like 33 feet below the surface of the sea if you're diving. So you get in that chamber, we seal it, we increase the pressure inside, and then you breathe in concentrated oxygen. That forces oxygen into your blood plasma. So when we do that, we're no longer relying on the red blood cell to carry oxygen to your tissue. We're bathing the body and the brain in oxygen, which allows your cells to create a ton more energy. Because healing and rewiring anything, healing, whether it's an injury or rewiring a part of the brain, very, very energy intensive process. So we're now providing all of the resources that the body needs to heal, and it does. Hyperbaric's indicated for PTSD. There's a number of studies, particularly out of Israel, that show about a 67% response rate for treating PTSD. It also is the only way that we humans know to reverse biological aging. I'm going to be in my 30s forever because I'm in that damn thing every day. And it just serves as this catalyst to help your body repair. If you do it consecutively enough, you can get your natural stem cell production up to 8 times its normal level. So it's pretty crazy. It's one of the reasons that it helps heal, helps healing so much. And then finally, we use transcranial magnetic stimulation along with talk therapy. So transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS, we take an MRI coil and we place that MRI coil on your head in specific spots. That MRI coil creates a magnetic field that's able to painlessly penetrate the skull. And your neurons, because they're half chemical and half electrical, when they see that field, they gravitate towards it. And when they gravitate towards it, think of this like building a muscle. You're building up the density of that network. And once that network is strong, it has enough signal to tell your limbic brain to shut the hell up. So it's able to go back into its role as that executive functioning center.
Right.
And we can do that on both sides of the brain. The treatment site for depression is right here on the left dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, and anxiety. And there's also PTSD protocols for the right dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. So we can strengthen both parts of the brain while we bring down inflammation, and we give the system all the energy that it needs to perform the function that we want it to perform. Add in the culturally competent talk therapy throughout that process, and what we're seeing on average is that between 14 to 17 days, our patients are starting to get into symptom remission. That's unheard of in medicine. That's unheard of in mental health.
Right. Wow. What does it look like? What does it look like, and what is the process of you getting the attention of some of the veterans that could use your help? What does that process look like? How do they reach you? How do they see you? How do you guys reach out? And what does it look like when they find you?
Yeah, so I do a lot of outreach. I do a lot of public speaking, talking to veteran service organizations. We're a part of VA community care as well, so veterans can get referrals to us. The VA does not cover all of our treatments. They'll cover the TMS, but they don't cover the hyperbaric or the ketamine. We're working on creating more access to those, but our best program for veterans right now is our Inner Armor program. That works if someone's got TRICARE. So if you or a family member has TRICARE Reserve, Select, or Prime, and you've tried 3 antidepressant medications, you get approved for the transcranial magnetic stimulation, the TMS, and then we have a nonprofit that helps donate the funds for the hyperbaric and the ketamine. So you're able to get all 3 of those for the cost of your copays. So it's by far the lowest cost and best treatment option for someone struggling with depression, anxiety, PTSD, or TBI that's on TRICARE in the country.
Okay, very good. I wanted to ask you, so are your services primarily, or should I say exclusively, just at your building? Do you guys do anything online for people from different parts of the country? How's that work? I mean, is there any access?
We have the capability to do online treatment through telehealth. We don't do a whole lot of it. The thesis here is come in, do the whole 7-week protocol, and leave really not needing a whole lot of back end support, but we can provide that through therapy if it's needed.
Okay, very good. Well, Sam, I want to thank you for that. As a veteran myself, fortunately for me, I had, like I said, I had a quiet enlistment, so I didn't have the only problem that I had with my inflammation was self-caused. So as those things. But I want to thank you for coming and talking to us about this, and I hope I can be one of the ones to help some of these veterans find you. I want to do what I can do, because to me, I think it's what you guys are doing great. It's great, and I find it very interesting and very necessary. And we need everything we can do to help along our traditional medicine partners. They need all the help they can get. So hope guys like us, guys like me, and guys like you, we can get in there and help them out with what they're doing. So again, Sam, thanks for being with us. On your screen, Mind Spa Denver. Take a look at it. I'm sure that you'll find something that you find very interesting, like we had in our conversation today. So, in closing, I want to tell everybody, remember, let's get out there and help somebody get better, help somebody stay better, and most importantly, let's help somebody be better. Good day.